Hello and welcome to episode 8 of our Timberborn Update 7 Iron Teeth Project 1K playthrough here, Cycle 11, Day 5, where last episode we increased the height of the reservoir again, we splashed some eggplants, and, just generally tried improving things. And I just wanted to start off today's episode by telling you we're not going to do that again. Made a couple of you pretty upset. And we're also going to, we're going to build reservoirs better. More than a few of you were varying stages of unhappy about how we handled that, and I just wanted to apologize for that. I'm not trying to be stupid, all right? I'm just trying to get stuff accomplished with limited resources. But now, like we said last episode, things are finally looking up, and we're going to be able to get a lot of good stuff accomplished. And I finally feel like we can make that happen. So, game plan for today. We obviously aren't going to be able to increase the size of this reservoir before we have a drought or a bad tide, so we're just going to kind of leave it as is. We're going to make sure, first of all, that this can't flood stuff again, or won't flood as severely. And this is set to 0.65. This is set to 0.5. We have these three dams ready to go for overflow, so we should have minimal problems. And we have a lot more water storage. This is a tremendous increase in capacity, and of course it's going to get bigger, but that's going to take time, and we will get to that time eventually. But today, like I said, I want to focus on improving industrial stuff and making it possible for us to build things quickly without having to wait half an episode and build things individually, because that is only going to lead to rage. So, the math is different for Folktales and Iron Teeth with all of these different resources, and I don't need to relitigate all of that discussion we've had dozens of times before, but I'm not going to be worried so much about efficiency so much as I'm going to be worried about capacity in terms of how much can we produce of the most critical resource, which right now is going to be gears. We have one gear workshop. Every 3 hours it makes one gear. I would really like to have a whole lot more, so we can, actually start building more medium tanks, get to the larger tanks as well. And I think the best way to do that is just going to be do what we can with what we have, like we always do. So, I see the flooding has already begun, but hopefully it won't stick around. It should be okay once everything eventually settles down. It's just going to be a little weird for a little bit of time, and I'm pretty sure a lot of that is to do with this stuff right here. But we have ways of fixing that, don't worry. We have explosives, and we're going to be talking about more of that stuff as well. See, there we go. Problems are solving themselves. But we do still have a couple days, and this is at full height, which means we are looking pretty good. And instead of splashing this, like I said, we're not going to do that again. That was dumb. I'm just going to, at the very end, just close these sluices so there's a little bit of water retained here. It'll keep those guys alive. And then, of course, longer term, we have different options for that as well. But we have currently a very healthy... it's only gone down since I clicked on it, so maybe it's not that healthy. But let's call it approximately 400 HP, conservatively, that we can, utilize. And I don't have enough beavers to operate everything yet either. That's going to also change. But at minimum, I'm going to go ahead and place in, let's say, safely, just 2 of these gear workshops right here. Remember that all of these take 120 HP apiece. So we can't build too much. But if we have 3 gear workshops, every 3 hours we will get 3 gears. And every 3 hours, we will consume 3 planks. With our single industrial lumber mill, every 0.63 hours, we will get 1 plank. So, obviously we need to have at least one more of these lumber mills to be able to supply everything. But we're not going to use all of this stuff all at one time, because we have so few beavers. Let's get this on triple speed now that the flooding is no longer going to be a concern. Don't need to waste time overnight dealing with stuff, and then when the sun comes up, we'll put it... Hey, there we go! 2 times speed for the bad tide. But these guys, for right now, don't necessarily need to be building all of these gear workshops, especially because, we only have 40-something planks. But we've got 1,300 water. We have a total capacity of about 1,800. And food and ingredients for food, I got the pointer positioned backwards, but you get the idea. Are looking really, really good for 40 beavers. We are not in danger of dying We're just in danger of mismanagement, which is, I guess, always kind of a concern. But they're going to get this taken care of. This engine can only supply 400 HP, so we are still going to have to, you know, kind of just play it by ear on what we're going to be able to run at any given time. We do still have the food factory that does need to do stuff with other types of food than the ones we've already got stored up. But again, it's not a life-threatening situation. This is a situation where we can just kind of say, all right, what do we need to prioritize? How can we make it happen? And how can we continue this playthrough in a way that is not going to inspire suffering and rage? So I'm just going to straight up pause the food factory. I'm going to let the oil press, I love that sound, keep going. We're going to fill this tank up with oil so we can pause this building, get a worker back, and weasel away 50 more HP while we're using everything else. But now we have the gear workshop going. We are very, very quickly running out of planks, but keep in mind that we're also using them to build this other gear workshop, and this is going to catch up just fine. Not going to be an issue. We do have some logs. We're not using them to build a giant reservoir expansion currently, so we have that. Plus, this staircase is now useless because it's been outmoded, so we can just delete all this, and look, we get 34 planks back. Love it when a plan comes together. And all of this is, of course, being changed over to cassavas like we talked about last time. And then we have some of these oak trees getting planted as well as these different things get harvested. We're going to keep these pine trees here, and I'm probably going to stop cutting them at some point soon-ish, because we are also going to need to get a tapper shack and then eventually start making the treated planks. Treated planks, of course, being a very useful thing for us with the irrigation barriers so that we can, you know, completely bad tide proof a lot of this stuff. So, speaking of bad tide proofing, it's unavoidable. These are all going to die, which is regrettable, but it is the way it is. I'm just going to go ahead and unplant them so nobody wastes their energy if they're harvesting all this stuff. But something tells me it's not going to be a problem. Let's go ahead and set this to harvest. Try to save this corn, because corn is a very, very useful crop. These eggplants will not make it, like I said. We have no mechanism by which to prevent infection. It's unfortunate, but that's showbiz, baby. And now look at this. We've got 2 gear workshops running. I still have this one paused. I know it might seem kind of funny I've got this one paused when we already built 2, but we're doing what we can with what we got. Remember, our goal is to have additional water storage, because now we're getting pretty close. And I've almost got enough gears to build another one here. And in fact, I'm going to go ahead and build it. I don't really have a great place for it. In fact, I don't really have a place at all. But seeing how this is already, you know, infected, for lack of a better term, I'll just pop this here. Have them go ahead, start building it. They do have 1.6 days, and we do want to have as much water stored as we possibly can, even if we're not going to use it immediately. Because remember, we're trying to have 1,000 beavers. And the only way we're going to get there is if we have a massive, massive oversupply for a very long time and don't use all of our supply all at once. So, they already have most of the gears in there. We almost have enough to go ahead and shut these things off. I'm going to go ahead and pause that one. We don't use quite so many of our planks, but I believe we've got all of our materials ready to go. See, look at that. In the time it took for me to find a place and start building it, they've almost filled up the rest of the capacity. You gotta stay ahead of it. Gotta stay ahead of it. Like I said, we're gonna be just fine. So when we get to about, you know, half or a third of a day left, we are going to start preparing our storage here. But we have to be careful so we don't flood everything. You know, never gonna mess with the sluices. That is, you know, that's illegal. We're not going to do that. But I will raise these floodgates just before this stops filling up, if I can remember. And look, now we have more water storage. We have a capacity of over 2,100. And that is fantastic stuff. Very, very, very good. We already have completely full storage of fermented cassavas, so on and so forth. So also this episode, we're going to have to get these large warehouses going. We have the science. We've always had the science for the past, like, episode and a half. But it's just been an issue of, can we make 80 planks for each of these warehouses? Obviously the answer is yes. we will need to actually back up our words by building another one of these things, which we can easily do right here. And I'm going to pop that there so that we can use this doorway on that side, and then we can build other stuff either to connect here or cover on top of this. Plenty of opportunities, plenty of stuff we're going to be able to take care of just fine. Love to see these filling up. That is good stuff. And we're still not using all the power supply for these wheels, which makes me feel really good about using the engine during the bad tide, because remember, we're only going to have part of these wheels power here because there's not going to be any clean water flowing through. This will still be going, which is good because, ideally we should also be making some more dynamite for something we're going to talk about in just a little bit. But before we get there, I do have to make sure that I don't mess this up. Just to be abundantly clear about what's happening up here. These are all set to close above contamination. They're synchronized. These are set to close below contamination. And they are all synchronized. They're set to auto mode. These are also set to auto mode. There should be no problems whatsoever. It should be totally fine. Same amount of outflow here, same amount of outflow here. No issues. But, the water physics in the game tend to get a little screwy when you get to double and triple speed. So, hey, look at this. They've already harvested all of this stuff. Obviously, these aren't ready to go. It's regrettable, but it is what it is. So, now we find ourselves with 0.3 days left. It's probably about to be 0.2 here as soon as this work day is over. And that's going to mean it's about time to start increasing all of this. Remember, this is going to start, poisoning kind of gradually, not when it's, on fast speed. But it's not like the drought where the strength stops. So just got to make that switch very, very quickly. Cleanly. I'm going to go ahead and slowly raise this. Again, we don't want to flood. It's going to be like imperceptible differences here. I mean, this has been closed this whole time because it's been overflowing. Now we got that downstream depth slowly creeping up. And I think, well, we're close enough now, I can almost certainly just go ahead and slam it shut. Yeah, see, there we go. It's going to backflow a tiny, tiny bit, but that is okay because this is going to immediately... okay, I did it too much. Yep, alright. Fine, you win. I'm terrible at this game. God. I saw a meme that I'm not going to repost here because it has language in it, but some of you in the Discord saw it. Cool! Now I get to be the absolute buffoon that I said I wasn't going to be 10 minutes ago. Can't make this stuff up. But I digress. Bad tide time. It's done here. That's problem solved. It's going to infect all this stuff. And now we have flooded, so I do have to let this out just a touch. Okay, I forgot how much more was going to come out of that. Alright, cool. It is what it is. Life goes on. We move on. We have almost just shy of 2,000, actually. We have 15 days. So what I'm going to do, because we have very, very full water storage, I'm going to go ahead and pause all but one of these pumps. And now that's given us some more beavers we can allocate to other tasks, like building and doing industrial improvements. So, like we said earlier, before that stupidity, the large warehouses require 80 planks. We have to have those planks to actually build stuff with them, but they also require 60 logs. That's a lot of logs. We aren't producing a ton of logs at this exact moment. But we're not making a larger reservoir this time around because we're trying to focus on stuff. So what we can do instead is look for candidates for these medium warehouses to be demolished. Pull up this thing right here. We have, not really any repeats over here, but there's definitely some of these that would be better off having a larger capacity more so than others. And I think that was probably going to make more sense at this stage, before we can build a ton of these things, to have the raw ingredients in the warehouses, because that is a higher density of potential energy. We want to go back to our physics education from 20 years ago, but or mine at least. You know, if you have 1,200 spots in a warehouse and you have 1,200 corn rations, just to use the example, 1,200 corn rations is 1,200 units of food. That's as much as we have altogether for everything. That would be a tremendous improvement. But remember, if you store 1,200 raw corn, then all of a sudden you have 6,000 rations worth of corn stored, assuming you have a beaver to run the equipment to produce the rations. But that is 5 times, just for the corn, that's 5 times as much potential food stored, ready to go. So I think that's going to be the best thing we can do first. Obviously, we also have the eggplants at 6 times, but those also require the canola oil. And then we have, of course, algae we haven't gotten into. We may not get into hydroponic gardens in this playthrough, just because they use water, and I'm trying not to use as much water as I can. Unless we got a super stable, gigantic supply of water, then that's not going to be a problem. But like I said, we're going to start out by putting in a big storage for corn. And the way that this is set up, I currently have some canola being grown right here. I don't really have a tremendous place to put all of this stuff, but let's not forget, we have options to relocate other things that we've been doing. Like, for example, this inventor right here currently is taking up valuable tree space, and I saw at least one person comment on this. I'm going to make this inventor go away. We can relocate stuff up here that doesn't have to, you know, be on arable land. And that is what we should be doing with that space. This is going to become 4 more oak trees, which, you know, might seem like, oh, why are you taking that? You need to have your beavers researching. Well, 4 more of these oak trees every 30 days is 32 logs. And on this map, every little tiny bit matters so much more than I can explain. So that's going to be the ideal scenario for us right now. We also, if we're talking density, need to consider another beaver storage option for our barracks here. 40 logs to make housing for 10 beavers, or 70 logs to make housing for 16, which, you know, theoretically, it's pretty close. One of these is a little better than the other, but you take a look at the row houses. 35 logs to store 8. That is objectively a worse option in terms of density per log expended. However, space, not only is it the final frontier, it is the last thing that we're going to be able to, you know, fully utilize here once everything's all said and done. We're going to need to start using these and stacking them a lot sooner than you might think. So we're not going to get into this quite yet, but it's coming. It's coming. I don't want to use all my science, especially when we're, you know, getting rid of some of these inventor huts anyway. But the time will come when we utilize those. Just wanted to get that out in front of all of that happening. All that being said, we have canola here. I'm going to go ahead, because this is already where the corn is. Remember, we can always tear stuff down and rebuild it. Not a big deal. But I'm going to start unplanting these 2 here. I'm not going to rip them out of the ground. I'm going to unplant those. And we're going to start moving some other things up here. These are already dead. They're already, you know, doomed. Unless I really feel like splashing these again, which I am sure absolutely none of you care to ever see again. We're going to end up starting to build a bigger storage up here. But we also need to start recovering some of the materials we used to build these warehouses in the first place. So let's go ahead and unlock these large warehouses. They'll get that taken out. And then, of course, we'll be able to put other stuff in here as time warrants, but just wanted to keep you guys apprised of all that is going on. We also have space up here for things that, until we have the irrigation blocks and all that, we can't grow anything up here, but what we can do is we can put in the inventors very, very far away in the useless land that we can't do anything with. I guess that's why it's useless. But yeah, we have all this space up here, very, very simple, very easy for us to just say, you know what? It's time to just send the nerds up here to do their research and then get some of this space back. We could definitely have some more storage, or grow more trees would be a much, much better thing to do over here. But eventually, you know, all of this stuff is going to be relocated, or as much as I can is going to be relocated, so we can grow more trees, so on, so forth. You know how it goes. So, we're continuing to make additional planks and gears albeit slower, but that's going to be totally fine. I'm going to pause the scavenger flag. It's not really hurting anything to have these guys, you know, just chilling here, but we don't have any storage for them at this exact moment in time. So, no sense in them still being in there. Let's go ahead and pop in first storage. Like I said, for the raw corn, we don't have a whole lot of corn growing, and that's something we're going to fix. But what we do have here can definitely be moved and get primed for all of that fun stuff. Remember, this is still paused here. This is still active. That's totally fine, working about as best as it can. So they're going to start working on that. I think I've got enough planks. I should. Logs, I'm going to have to be careful about how many of these I build quickly. But you know how it goes. Once the corn is moved out of here, then I can, before we tear it down, I can repurpose this warehouse for something else, which, given how things are looking here, probably is going to make more sense to go ahead and put it for soybeans, because we have unharvested soybeans that we're not doing anything with, and I don't think we've even started making those at all, because the recipe for these things does require canola oil, and 6 of those turn into 20, which is a little bit more than 3 times. It's better than the cassavas, but because it requires the canola oil as well, I would consider it to be a lesser recipe, but it still is going to help to get that well-being up, and yes, we are going to eventually have more fermenters in place. That's kind of why I had this going here, so I could put a couple of these along this outside, should we have enough power. But speaking of that, we have this water wheel here that is only now producing 117 out of the desired 370. That is going to mean, unfortunately, we have to run the engine, but in doing that, we're going to be able to turn more of these buildings back on, like, for example, the explosives factory, because we're supposed to be making dynamite. And now, finally, 22 minutes and 37 seconds into this recording, I can finally talk about what we're doing with the dynamite. Had a comment on the last video, people asking if we're going to stack farms. Absolutely, we're going to stack farms. I thought I'd talked about this in the first couple episodes, but just so everyone's on the same page here, I'm going to try very, very soon, maybe not this episode, but very, very soon, we're going to start blasting out land here as soon as we can actually replace it with the dirt excavator, which is admittedly going to be a while because we have to have 100 treated planks, but within not too long, we're going to start trying to stack, especially tree farming. Remember, we're going to take this all the way down. Irrigation always goes down. It does not go up very well, but you can have a single pool of irrigation here. Maybe this exact location might not be perfect for it, but it's already here, so I'm not going to move it yet. We can have infinitely many things underneath this as long as they will physically fit, and they'll all be irrigated by this same 3x3 by, well, not 1, but like technically 0.9 something, and it's going to be totally fine. Nicely irrigated. So we're going to start trying to layer things. So we can either blast it out with dynamite, or we can get tunnels unlocked with the help of some of these other things here, like the extract. And depending on how we want to do it, we talked a little bit in the second episode, about the strategy for layering things with the earth, supporting the earth, so that we don't have to, you know, worry about doing additional irrigation. It's going to make the most sense from an economic perspective of not having to rush to the terraforming super quick for us to just use tunnels. But it's a lot harder to create negative space than to just blow everything up and rebuild positive space, if that makes sense. So I might not want to do that in these videos just because it's going to be so much harder and it's going to invite so many more opportunities for me to be an idiot, and then, you know, people don't like to see that. So we'll see what happens. I'm not ruling it out, but I'm just giving you that warning ahead of time. Some of the stuff that we're doing is going to be hard, and it might be, you know, hard to watch, but, you know, buckle up. we're going to be all right. We're going to be all right long term. So they have to finish building this, and then I have to swap that over, and then I have to, you know, actually get stuff taken care of. But what we can do with the dynamite we already have, we have this space here. We can blast this out, and then it will be irrigated, and we can start growing some more trees and stuff up here, which means the hauling post is going to have to move. But hey, we got tons of space up here, and the hauling beavers don't take things back to here before they haul it somewhere else. This is just where they live, or they don't live, but it's where they sit there if they have nothing else to do. So the hauling post can be basically anywhere, which means it could be over here in Poison Land. It could be up here in Poison Land. I think up here in Poison Land is going to be better, personally. But we'll just need to find a location for it, and I think it's going to make sense to put it right here, just to keep everything nice and organized. So that will be the next thing they build. How many do I have working in here right now? Is it 6? Okay, we'll go ahead and set that to 6 beavers. And then obviously I'm not going to demolish this until the other one's built. I'm not that dumb. But we do need to go ahead and start blowing all of this up. This is a very healthy 14 dynamite, and we have 12. But this is going to be very, very useful because when this gets demolished, I'm also going to move the campfire somewhere else. Again, that can be in Poison Land too. It doesn't have to be on clean dirt. Then we have all this other space to grow trees, and we're going to need a lot of trees, folks. Gonna need a lot of trees. We can also reclaim some space here by getting rid of these small tanks as we replace them with the mediums. So on and so forth. You know how it goes. So we'll go ahead and get this back in triple speed so they can, actually take care of stuff they have to take care of. Get this finished. They just need to get the rest of these planks in place, and they're going to have to keep making more, but you know how it goes. Very, very excited to finally make some good industrial progress. It has been 800 million years. We got another 12.5 days, and we've already used half a block of height here. See, this is why I was so, insert your favorite word here about building this. It's really important. Really, really important. But now we have... Oh, I made that for fermented soybeans. That was supposed to be regular soybeans. Now, oh, see, look at that. Now they can pull all these out of the ground. Everything is going to be just fine. No worries. And this is built, which means this is unbuilt. And then I might as well go ahead and put in campfires where I can place them. There's only a couple spots where it's going to make sense, and this is one of them at this exact moment in time, so that's going to be fine there, which means that's going to go away, which means we can blast this, which means we can have a much, much better time. Just let them do what they got to do. But now look, we have enough gears and we have enough planks to build another medium tank if we feel so inclined. Right now I think that's probably better spent building more infrastructure, and I don't want to pump all of this out until the very end of the drought anyway. Ideally, drought, bad tide, same difference for our purposes. Ideally, we would want to enter the temperate cycle with all of this water completely pumped and stored, or having been used for irrigation. It's probably not going to happen that way because, that's how this goes. They can't reach this, right? All right, B for boom. Now they can reach that, and that campfire is gone, which means, taking this out of super ultra speed, now we have additional space. The forester cannot reach, but fear not, we can always replant, or we can put things that are not trees. We could also put some food here. Relocate some of this because eventually all this space needs to be utilized. So even if we're not planting trees here, having this ready to go for planting of other stuff like food is a good idea. And we can start moving more and more of these cassavas out of this area, so long as they're covered by the farmhouse, which they are not. But the farmhouse can also be moved, and in fact probably should be placed on top of one of these things like this this mess right here. This shower could probably be put somewhere else if I had better space for it. I don't currently, but I can always put a platform on top of this and then have some sort of other nonsense for these guys to get into. But we'll get there when we get there. B for boom. At the very least, what we can do is evaluate the range of this, decide, do we want to relocate the cassavas here? Because, farmhouses can always be moved somewhere else. This farmhouse isn't really in a great position anymore because, only half of its space is covered with stuff to harvest. This farmhouse really is not in a great spot, but I do have to have one close enough for all of this stuff. So if we're going to move one of them, it probably is going to have to be this guy, because this guy also has a higher range over there. So we don't necessarily have to move it. We can just add another one. But I think it's going to make the most sense long term to pop this in here. And while this arrangement might not make sense to you at this time, it makes sense to me, and that's what we're going to do. Just going to pop in a shower right here. Get that set up. We can also put another shower right here. This one can go away, although our population is not big enough to warrant that at this exact moment in time. We will get that taken care of. Then I will go ahead and just start the process here. Just get rid of this. And then we'll pop in this farmhouse. Now this guy has access to all of this and all of this, which means this farmhouse can go away. And I don't know that this is irrigable land that it's sitting on, but we will find out. We'll find out very, very soon. But most importantly, this is going to allow us to continue to plant actual crops, and we can unplant probably, yeah, all of these right here. This will become more trees. Then we'll just check our range here. I think this is honestly probably going to be totally fine. Just don't want to do too much all at once. Just let these guys do what they gotta do. So look at that. We already pulled out 68 soybeans. I guess I can just have this be what it's going to be anyway. Yeah. Based on stuff we want to be growing for the future, definitely should be corn, in my opinion. So go ahead and have all of this planted as corn. This will more than double, possibly close to triple the amount of corn we're growing. And it should still be irrigated pretty much at any point in time. And with the resources we have available to us now, we're also going to put in a barracks here. We talked already a little bit about how we're going to have to, you know, get some other stuff first. But since we're going over this, other stuff is in different housings. We're going over this little blank space here. Is there anything I can hide underneath that will give them a little bit of a bonus? The braziers are good. Probably would be smart to go ahead and just pop that there. They can build that very, very easily. That'll give benefits to these two guys here, and it's going to get better over time, just as everything does. But that's what we're looking at there. Got more oak trees to plant. Get these going as well, just as often as we have space for them. Remember, we're thinking long-term here in terms of placement of stuff for the best benefit long-term, planting-wise. Not necessarily something that's going to make sense right this moment. But now we have extra housing, and we don't have to have homeless beavers. We've got all that corn planted. That's looking good. This needs to be removed. And, okay, yeah, this space did not have any irrigation, so that's fine. It is what it is. But this storage now, I'm going to have to see just how many logs I've got when they're done with all that and how many we're going to have coming up. But I think this would be a great place for another one of these large storages. Probably should be, honestly, long-term thinking probably should be canola seeds more than anything else. Because, well, we have tons of food, but we're slam full on the canola seeds, and these are going to be harvestable kind of soonish, and I want to make sure we're not, you know, missing out on all those opportunities, which does mean this storage is probably going to end up taking on the mantle of the soybean, the raw soybean storage that I had taken care of there. Eggplant rations don't have any storage right now, but we're also not making eggplants because I didn't want to use all this stuff. It's all going to make sense in time. It'll all make sense in time. Don't you worry about that. We're going to get this taken care of nicely. But already have made so many good and better choices. So, 10 days left in this bad tide. I talked about getting more of this stuff taken care of. Right now we are, wow, almost 100% perfect on power supply versus demand. So it looks like this arrangement's going pretty well. I did pause the gather flag because we weren't making any metal. Dynamite-wise, probably, if we're going to be using dynamite outside of like this to get this corner irrigable, probably need to be doing some demolition inside here. We also can't get in there at this point in this playthrough yet, so let me go ahead just to start making some more progress here. I got 17 of these. It doesn't really matter where this capacity goes, to be perfectly honest with you, so I might as well just have a place where it's easily reachable, which would probably make sense here, or possibly, because we are going to keep expanding this upward, here. But for right now, I guess I will just go ahead and get all that situated. And now we have to get up here. And like I said before, this is something that you guys talked about a lot in the comments. Having access up to the top from this side versus this side would make things a whole lot easier and would help to prevent a lot of the place one levee, place another levee nonsense. These crops are all dead. That means we have space to get up here. We also can use the natural terrain here and minimize the amount of, nonsense we have to be dealing with. What I can do is I can utilize the landscaping, depending on how we want to go about doing this, in a couple of different ways. I think long term, this is how wide this is going to be until we can, do something else, so I don't have any problems coming around the outside of this thing here. So what I will do is I will come up this way, just like so. Get that going there. That's going to have to be there. That's going to have to be there. And there. And then this can go here, which is going to be a very simple but effective way of dealing with this. Now it's connected. This can be blasted out with a single dynamite. And then this will be able to go all the way around, starting here. And then all we have to do to, build this up one more block is we have to get rid of 30 units of scrap metal, but you can't choose which scrap these guys attack first. So it's going to be a little annoying trying to deal with that, but they can still walk through this, and we can also, come up through other ways. But coming around the backside here, I think, is going to make the most sense. We can relocate, or we can at least keep this paused, and I can put in a very, very specific location another one of these guys. Remember, if they can't access it, they can't access it. So if I put this here, the closest scrap to this guy at this point in time, if he is here, will be this piece of ruins here, which is only 15. Gather that. Then the next one will probably be this one, which is 30. But if this one gets gathered, then I can put a scavenger flag here, which means the closest one is going to be this guy. So you can see what I'm getting at. Eventually, this will make a whole lot of sense. I'm not going to sit here and babysit it like I did with this other stuff, but just want to make sure they can actually start the process, set things up a little bit more conveniently, so that when we do want to increase the size of the reservoir, which, seeing how much this has gone down with just one thing pumping, we definitely are going to want to do, it will make sense. Now that this is looking a lot better. Still, see, I did say that I was going to try and build that soon, but these trees are not growing particularly advantageously for us now. Like in the next couple days, yeah, we're going to have a lot of wood coming in. But to spend basically all the logs I already have on building one more warehouse for a crop that we don't have a ton of unharvested stuff with probably isn't a fantastic choice. Fortunately, we have other things we can build, like additional tanks, even if we're not going to use them at this exact moment in time. They don't take logs, they only take products of logs. And so long as we have enough to build at least one of these tanks, again, we have tons of space here that's basically always going to be poisoned, we don't have to worry about it, then that's going to be fine. It's probably also smart for us to have one of these medium tanks for the bad water sooner rather than later. So that's probably what's going to make the most sense. If I just go ahead and put in 2 platforms here, and then I can get rid of this. We're not really using that much bad water right now. I mean, we're making explosives, but it's also not mission critical. So if I just go ahead and pop this in just like so, get that flopped around. Bad water, they'll take care of that eventually, and we'll be in a pretty good spot. So, put these in triple speed, let them keep on doing what they're doing. Making nice progress, folks. Very, very slowly, but that is how we do things. Now let's check and see Okay, a wet fur obviously could be improved with probably another shower, but that's not that big of a deal. Getting the different nutrition stuff up and running is probably going to be smart. Soybeans, we can just swap this guy over, and that'll give us a nice boost for a little bit of time. Algae rations and the fermented mushrooms, probably not going to get to for a while, if we even do. Oh, the frog statue. That's right. We have to have treated planks for those, though. And aesthetic stuff, depending on where we put it, could be a very cheap, easy way to get some extra well-being. And a couple of you have been asking for that since the beginning, so probably we'll do a little bit more of that in a second. And then, of course, all the rest of this stuff. But shrubs. 12 logs is a lot. But, well, right now, if we are smart about placement, we can make a big difference with this. So, there is one tile every single beaver is basically going to have to go through no matter what, because of where we have all of our different jobs and all this other stuff. They're pretty much all going to have to come through this intersection right here, because that's the shortest path to get down here, and it's also the only way to get up there. So if we just go ahead and we take a platform right here, and we put in, not the roofing piece, not the shrub, thank you, put in that there, every single beaver will go through this at least once per day, probably twice, and that is going to be a tremendous, tremendous benefit. Beaver boom. Now that gets to be another staircase. And then we can have one beaver start chipping away at all of this. We'll also have to have some storage, and obviously we have to have a place for that stuff to go as well. So what I'm going to go ahead and do, seeing how this is basically full of explosives, I'm going to pause the explosives factory and unpause the smelter. They do use a different quantity of power, 150 for the explosives versus 200 for the smelter. But getting more metal blocks at this point is going to be very, very good, because that's going to allow us, eventually, to get large tanks going, which is obviously what we should be doing. Look at this. We already have the shrub here. Every single beaver's got to go through, and they'll get at least a tiny, tiny bonus from that. See, look at them. It's only +1, but that was such a cheap, relatively, way to get everything nice and improved for them. That feels good to get that done. Things are still improving. I did not deprioritize these inventors. Oh well, life goes on. Still working here. They're putting all of these explosives in because they can reach those from up there. That is also part of the reason why I wanted to do that. And the other thing we can do is we can connect to here. So what I'm going to go ahead and do, I'm going to get that triple platform unlocked. We'll need it eventually anyway. And I'm going to go ahead and put in... Now, I know they can't technically get around this yet, but they will, at some point, be able to do that. I'm going to get this ready to go for transit up that way. We can also, depending on how anal retentive, I guess you could say, we want to be about things, just going to hit pause so I can think clearly. We could demolish this, and then do some more here, and then just have this continue up this way. I think that's probably going to make the most sense. So, forgive my ignorance in starting this possibly the wrong way, but I'm doing my best. I'm trying. It's about all I can do. Still progressing nicely here. Got a lot of planks. Gears increasing healthily as well. Alright. Plenty more space for oaks. Go ahead and get those planted. I am totally fine with waiting for these to grow up versus slowly transitioning them through birches, pines, whatever. I'm not going to be concerned about that because now we're not in extreme crisis mode. We do still have stuff popping up we can cut every day. Just fine. B for boom. Okay, gotta take this off at triple speed. It's making me go insane. So now that comes out. And then this one gets exploded as well. This is going to be a flat spot here. That's why I'm doing it that way. And I can come in here with the remaining explosives we have, which is still plenty. No worries there. Just got to get these guys up here to blow stuff up. B for boom. Now that gets to be a staircase there. And this gets to be for boomed. And then we'll just do that. Get this all connected. So that's going to go there, which means this is going to go here, which means that this normally would be a staircase down, but what I'm going to do here instead, I know this is it's backwards, whatever, but this is what we have to work with. And since the platforms only require planks, this is a good way to keep building without using all of our logs. Now we have access to here with minimal weeping or gnashing of teeth. They can take care of that very easily. And then back here will also get taken care of. Very, very slowly, but it will be taken care of. B for boom. If I actually click on anything. Alright, so now we have 5.5 days left. We have consumed 1.5 tiles of height. I'm going to go ahead and B for boom this in preparation for this to refill. Probably could have another beaver in here pumping, but for right now I think we are okay. Still have some here as well. I'm going to go ahead and say we can probably start building this larger storage. And then we can also, you know, keep planting a little bit more of the stuff here. I know I did unplant this because I needed to put something else larger there. But now I'm thinking I maybe didn't want to do that way. We got options. We got stuff we can be working on here. Alright, so that's looking good. That's looking good. Still have enough housing for the beavers. So there we go. Now we have access, and also, most importantly, through here to get down into the reservoir to continue blasting stuff out. Very, very, very slow process. And hey, guess what? Now I've got this taken care of. And I can go ahead and move this guy, but I'm not going to delete this until this other one's built. Which it is now built, which means it's deleted. I don't know if it's the same beaver or not, but now the closest one is still this, and then, you know, it's going to be a little bit easier. Little tiny bit easier. Scrap metal storage is not full. It is being utilized. Metal block storage, however, is full, and that's something I should have noticed a lot quicker. So what I'm going to go ahead and do, now that we actually have space, I'm going to build a large industrial pile here, because that seems like a convenient place to do it. That's going to be for metal blocks, because we're going to need to have more storage of those guys. We've got 4 days left. We have a little bit less than 600 free space available. So it's about to be time for us to expand that. Just want to B for boom what I can B for boom. Now we can get these guys. Oh, you know, I didn't connect this. Take this off at triple speed. It always makes me nervous. Now we can get in here. Obviously, I'm not blasting all the way completely down because I can't really reach it, but I do want to try and square off as much as I can. So, if I just go ahead and put in these bits there, that's 4 of those. Can't really reach too much else, but I can put another 4 there, and I can put another 2 there. That is another 10 blocks taken care of without having to build any other stairs. So that is looking good. And look at this. They already got that taken care of. We're one step closer, folks. Now, they are going to have to take this giant 53 stack out, but then this will be next. Hopefully, because they can't really reach anything else because of how we've set stuff up. So that's looking good. Now I have storage for metal blocks. I can keep metal blocking. Things are looking good, looking good. I got 246 planks. That's what I'm talking about. Now, it's time to pause one of those lumber mills because I am not producing logs quickly enough to feed them. And I think it's time to start building. Do I go straight for it? Do I go straight for it? Oh, I do have enough. All right, folks, large tank time. This is poison water. Let's just put a large tank right here. They should be able to build this, hopefully, pretty quickly. The gears are going to take a while, but now, because I paused this industrial lumber mill, I have 2 more beaver jobs, theoretically, and I can put them in the gear workshops. And just like that, we will have tripled our production of gears. Just in time to start building large tanks. I love it when a plan comes together. And now we have 3 days left. That should be plenty of time for us to pump the rest of this out. as we can. Just keep an eye on the situation here. Yeah, that's going to be what it's going to be. Food has been steadily declining a little bit. Yes, I do see that. However, we have 47 beavers and we have almost 1,000 food. I'm really not that concerned. I'm going to go ahead and say let's start fermenting soybeans here because we have basically a completely full stash of canola oil. I did say I was going to pause this one as well, so I will do that. I don't need to keep that running all the time. And now I've got some extra beavers, which means I can open up another water pump, and I can open up a third water pump. Now we're at that -5 level, which means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 actually. All 6 of these? Okay, well. While I do need to keep science coming in, I think for right now we're probably okay if I open up one more of these deep water pumps. Now we're at that -6. Things are looking good, folks. Looking good. Are we ready to beaver boom? There we go. And now we have used all of our dynamite. We have increased the capacity of this space here. And look at this. The bad water tank is already completely full. Now, unfortunately, I do not have enough power right now to turn on both the metal and whatever this is called, explosives factory. So it is what it is. But what I can do is I can pause the deep bad water pump. We'll get one more beaver back, which will, at the very least, allow us to continue making some science while we're doing all of this. Or I can put them in this pump and they can continue doing all of that. Yeah, gears are still going to take a little bit of time to get finished, but that should be done by the time the temperate cycle starts. And we're going to have to probably end this episode around that time too. But we are still making some very, very good progress. And I do have these pine trees, again, going to stop cutting these down at some point, but not at this exact moment. So that's at 12%, that's at 7, 61, 31, 55, 20. Okay, so we're not going to get any of these anytime soon, but we're still laying the foundation for some good stuff. And, like I said, we're going to be, utilizing this space a little bit better, so I can go ahead. I can get rid of all of these small tanks. Just go ahead and empty them out, and we can get all of that back. That being the wood they use. Should be a pretty simple process. There we go. And that, friends, is going to allow us to go ahead and build, hopefully, unless they just, put the planks somewhere else. Hopefully going to allow us to build another storage bit here. Like I said, I'm going to have storage for the canola seeds because we're going to start using those really, really quick. We don't want to run into problems with that. So, soybeans, gone away. We can also use that space. Why did I pause the game? Don't know. At this point, it's like a pathological need. I really hope they can still gather this. But anyway, this is going to be for canola seeds, which means this one can become soybeans, like I previously mentioned. Shouldn't be that big of an issue. We can also start stacking these things a little bit better as time goes on. Just have to be able to do what we have to be able to do. And probably reconfigure a whole lot of this stuff, but it is what it is. In fact, you know what? I probably could keep growing some stuff here if we are a little bit smarter with how this stuff goes. We'll see. One more gear and we will be all clear for the large tank to be loaded up, ready to go. With 1.5 days left, and look at that, just like that. Now our capacity is over 3,000. I will take that any day of the week. Still working on this. Yeah, 30 and of course 15, but we're making good progress. I know this is an abomination, but it's fine. It's going to be okay. So now I'm going to open up these two deep bad water pumps, or not bad water pumps, good water pumps. Hopefully only ever good water. That is totally fine. We still have 100 planks. They're going to be using those to build the warehouse. And now it's just a question of, are we going to have logs? Which, of course, do still take time to use. I think at this point we probably just kind of have to wait for more of these oaks to come in, but we have planted a lot of them. And in fact, I've got a couple more squares here I can plant as well. Shouldn't be an issue. We can start reorganizing this. Like I said, going to take some time to get this all figured out, but we will get there. We'll be able to plant more stuff. Should not be a problem whatsoever. I was originally going to put some more corn here, but I think for right now it's probably fine. Let's grab all these logs off the ground, because I think they're going to be able to finish this if they grab most of this. Yeah, we got 1 day left. I did say I wanted this to be more or less completely emptied out by the time this bad tide was over, and we're probably not going to quite get there, but I think we're going to be in good shape regardless. Remember, these are set to close when the downstream depth is above 0.50. We do have to make sure this is set correctly before water comes back, or we're going to have a terrible flood. It's going to flood a little tiny bit anyway, just because of how the dynamics work, but putting this back at 0.65 is good. Still isn't ever going to get that high. We have these mangrove things just spreading. We don't have any mangrove fruits, really, but I think they're still harvesting them occasionally and eating them. Yeah, okay. 2/3 of the beavers have had mangrove fruit, so that's good. That is good stuff. Still making some nice progress here. Still filling this up very nicely. Love to see that. I don't have any more small tanks, do I? No, it's just the medium ones. This space right here would be a fantastic candidate for another large tank if we had the materials to do it. Which, yeah, see, the gears are the problem. And obviously I don't have enough logs to really continue making a ton more planks to make gears with, but pretty soon that's going to be another one. So for those of you playing along at home, or keeping score, whatever you want to say, 3,000 water is 1/20th of the capacity we'd have to survive a 30-day drought or bad tide with 1,000 beavers. Which, you know, it's not a lot, but we only have 48 beavers. So it's still way more than we need, and that is the goal, to grow the water storage faster than the population, and that is what we are currently achieving. So I can consider that to be a success. 0.3 days coming in here. Still working on this, but now it's down to 18. We're getting there. We're getting there. So do not worry. We will have this stuff all taken care of very, very, very easily. But it is probably time to start thinking about getting some more beavers in here. Not with the help of the breeding pods, with the help of, you know, population retention by well-being. Remember, these guys get that all these different boosts and stuff. The plus 20% is at 7. The plus 40% life expectancy is at 17. So getting that up probably mostly through food is going to be the easiest way. Remember, we talked about all this other stuff. The fermented soybeans are a plus 2. The fermented cassavas are a plus 2. Corn rations, should we start making those again, and we probably should, are going to be another plus 2, so that's going to get us most of the way there. If we can just kind of rotate and have enough on hand, then I think we're going to be in good shape. But I did want to keep the beaver labor focused on taking care of this other stuff, instead of making more food when we still have plenty and we're not going to run out. There's zero chance we're going to run out. But we're going to go ahead and put this on triple speed and start drawing this episode to a close. I very much appreciate you guys so much watching these videos and keeping me honest with your comments. Even the negative ones might hurt my pride a little bit, but, you know, if you see something that's just being done incredibly poorly, you call me out on it, right? We have to be able to actually make progress. And sometimes I'm just kind of, you know, like, you get nose blind if you have like an odor in your house or whatever, and somebody comes over like, what in the heck is that smell? It's like, well, okay, well, this is kind of the same principle with these things. It's, people have referenced this in the comments before, like streamer blindness or YouTuber blindness or whatever. It's not an intentionality when these things happen. It's just I don't see it because I'm so focused on trying to keep the narrative going and just talk about whatever is going on. It just in one ear out the other kind of stuff. So I'm never going to get mad at you for calling stuff out. It might hurt me a little bit, but I'm never going to get mad at you for doing that. That being said, I really do appreciate those of you who've stuck with it, even with all the less than desirable outcomes we've had for some of this stuff early on in this series. But now I can confidently say we're on the right track. We're making very, very good progress, and I am very excited for the future of this series. But of course, you see the names on the screen. The beard boosters are the ones directly enabling all of this fun madness. So huge thanks to those folks subsidizing the videos making it possible for me to continue doing daily videos and focus on just having fun with the game, not taking sponsors for stuff nobody wants to buy or nobody wants to see ads for insert XYZ product here for the 10,000th time of the day. So those folks do genuinely make it possible, and I'm always going to be appreciative and thankful of them. And that is why I never take any names off the list. There's 1,500 of them at this point. But I digress. Whatever it is you're doing with the rest of your day, stay safe, have fun. We'll see you back in this playthrough on Saturday, and we'll see you tomorrow for more fun with the folktales, and Friday for more fun with the water beavers. We're having a great time. I'm so glad you're here. Again, stay safe, have fun. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.